14.4 volts. What is up, people of YouTube? Specifically my small community of followers. Small community at that, but still a community of followers. Anyways, got one for you today. So, I've been having an issue on my project truck. So this is the Tin Man. He's in his new home. Like I said, I just moved a couple weeks ago. So the issue that I'm seeing, and I might have mentioned it in a prior video, is I'm having an issue with the charging system. So I took the alternator to a local auto parts store, had it checked out, and they said it was fine. I don't know if I trust the way they test them, but whatever. Nothing much I can do. So I'm just going to go off that. So I'm going to make that my sole priority today to try and resolve. I think the next step that I really have to do is I have to go over the wiring on this thing, make sure that when the swap was done, you know, I was rewired correctly. Granted, it's only a one-wire system, so either way, I still got to check the connection. So we're going to start over at the connector. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to install it. I'll show you guys how to install it real quick. It's really not that hard. It's the original mounting for the LS1. Granted, this is an LS6 block. All the front items, the accessory drive system, it all went back just like stock, so it's no big deal. I'm going to show you guys how to install that real quick. For some of you that may not know, I don't know. Just I guess for some added footage. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and install that real quick, and then we're going to start checking the wiring. I got to check it. First of all, I'm going to check the wiring for continuity from the connector itself over to the PCM, and then from there, I don't really know where I'm going to go. I did go on LS1 Tech briefly to kind of check on the issue, see someone, you know, has seen this issue before, and they have. I mean, it's the internet. I mean, I know I'm not the first person to do this swap, so it's had to have happened to somebody, and it has happened apparently to other people that do swaps, and some people that even just have stock applications. Something's happened. So I'm gonna go on and check the wiring first. So we'll start there. Well, actually not first. So I'm gonna install the alternator, and then we're gonna check the wiring, and then we're gonna go from there. So stay tuned, and I'll be back in just one sec. Alright, so I've got my alternator slipped in there. So it actually goes in pretty easily, especially because it's on a truck frame. When I had this exact motor on my Trans Am, it was actually a little tougher to do. Granted, it's not impossible, but it was a little tougher. Had to jack up the car, but no big deal. So I got the alternator slipped in there. So you have two bolts, both of the same length. These go through the front of the alternator. So alternator actually slips in. If you can see here, there's a bracket that's open on both ends. You slip the bolt in, tighten it up to 15 millimeter. To get the other one aligned, you may need to swing your alternator either back or forth. And that one, I think I actually got on the first try. So that's actually not bad at all. Nice. I'm actually stoked about that one. Okay, so that's tightened. Well, not tightened, sorry. So I'm hand tightening that right now. That's going in there. That's pretty well aligned. And then you have one more. So then you have this bracket that goes in the back of the alternator. This I'm not actually going to install right now because I want to gain access to the connector, and I kind of want to be free because I'm going to be, you know, working around this area here. But I got that installed. Now my alternator does have an underdrive pulley. I did have the engine rebuilt, and due to that, it was actually killing alternators. Well, actually, I'll say this. I'll say it was killing replacement alternators from your local parts store. Past 4,500 RPM, so I wasn't able to actually go full throttle. So I got an underdrive pulley. I don't know the exact size right now. I'm going to try and look that up, and then I'll have to come back and tell you guys what size that is. But anyways, that does have an underdrive pulley. I'm going to finish tightening this up, and then we're going to go ahead and start checking out our wiring. The first thing that you really want to do is... Oh, that's not it. First thing... Oops, my bad. This is it. So this is the one-wire system. So I only have one wire. So the first thing that I see right here is I do have a little nick in the wire right there, and that's actually not good. Since it is so long, I might end up actually just cutting it and then placing it back in the pin. Actually, I got to see if I have either an extra pin or if I'm able to open that one up and then, you know, cut it, put the pin back on, crimp it, and then see how that goes. I don't know what I'm going to do yet because we just started looking. Actually, that's a bad sign already. That's not very exciting. Okay, but either way, we still have to go in and check everything anyway. So we'll go ahead. I'm going to actually finish up installing the alternator right now. I'm not going to put the serpentine belt on there yet, but I am going to put it on there, and then we're going to start with the wiring on this. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to check, and which you should check when checking any electronic component, would be to check your power at the battery. Check my battery now. 12.6 volts. Okay, perfect. So now, the next item that we need to check is I have the ignition on, and the exciter wire, that's the one wire that goes over to my alternator, should have essentially I have 12.6 volts at the battery right now. I do have the ignition turned on, so I should see around 12.6 volts over at my exciter wire. So I'm going to go ahead and let's test that out. So here's my wire, and this might work to my advantage. So I told you that I have a little cut already in my wire, so it's already frayed a little bit. So I'm going to see if I can do this. I'm going to use it to my advantage. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to touch my red lead onto the wire, and then, oh, this may not work out so easily. Okay, so I just repositioned my camera, so I'm going to touch my red lead onto the actual wire itself, so I should be seeing around 12.6 volts. I'm going to pick my motor mount bolt as a ground. Okay, so my meter shows nothing. So as you can see, the wire is exposed right there. I'm touching it. My meter shows nothing. I'm going to pick a chassis ground. Let's see. Nothing there. Let's double check it one more time. We'll just use the engine itself as a ground since it is connected to the chassis itself, and I don't see anything. Alright, so I'm not getting anything on the exciter wire. I should see 12 volt. This is a 98 harness with PCM. So essentially it should have about 470 ohms of resistance, and I've read that it was from the wire itself over to the PCM, and then I'm not sure if I understood this correctly, that the PCM would supply resistance as well, nor is it actually important that the PCM even gets an input from the alternator, although there is a pin, and I have to double check one more time, but I believe it was pin 15 on the red connector. So I gotta go ahead and double check that. I have to see and make sure it's connected. After the swap, I mean, it's still been messy. Granted, I did try to clean it up a bit, and I mean, I'm still working out the final details, but essentially I gotta go in there. Well, I have my PCM on the inside, so I gotta go in there and I gotta check that pin 15 on the red connector. So let me see if that's connected. So it should have 12 volts coming out of the PCM, and then it was recommended when I read a post on LS1 Tech to have it go to a non-LED bulb to supply resistance as well. But I gotta double check that. And then I'm gonna double check the pin real quick, make sure that's connected, or else just try to mock up a 12 volt a connection from a 12 volt source wired up to some kind of dummy light, and then that should get my voltage to the exciter wire down to the alternator, and then it should work. Alright everybody, so I ended up having to take a week off from finishing this project. So what ended up happening was I could not actually find an actual pin that went to the PCM for the 98 model year LS1, or the PCM is a 98. So I could not find an actual pin that went to the alternator per se. So what I ended up doing is there's another fix. Essentially there's two different alternatives. So what you need is a powered source with some sort of resistance on it that goes over to the alternator, the exciter wire. And one way to do that would be to connect the power source to a light bulb. Obviously, as voltage goes through the light bulb, it's going to drop due to the resistance of the light bulb. So that's essentially what you need. From there, you can run it straight to the alternator to work. Second option is going to be to wire up, again, a powered wire. Now, this is only powered during accessory, and then to put a resistor on it. So essentially what I did is I ended up ordering some resistors. You can see I got a little 10-pack right here. I already measured them out. They're 470 ohm, and apparently that's what I need. So I'm going to go ahead and install that. So I'm going to solder that in line. To my pigtail, my wire that goes over to, what do you call it? My connector on the alternator itself. I ended up having an additional pigtail that actually seems to match. So I did used to be a mechanic, and this is one of those items that you just kind of hoard around for a long time that you probably won't ever need. It just so happens that it's the same pin. I've already got the little bushing here, the little weather resistant bushing here, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to solder the resistor to the end of that, connect it to my wire that's already on the harness, or coming from the harness, and then power it up. So that's essentially what I'm going to do. Other than that, it should work, I believe, so let's go ahead and let's try and do that. I seriously hope I succeed on this because I don't want to be wrong about it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on doing that, and hopefully today is the day we will finally have an alternator again. Let's get it. Alright, quick update. So I ended up exposing the wiring, essentially. I exposed the wiring in the wiring harness so I could trace back the original wire that I had in there all the way back. So what I found is that I have it connected to my instrument cluster. I do have it connected to my voltage gauge, but this was a rookie mistake, and the fact was that I forgot to supply voltage to the actual gauge itself. So that's what I'm trying to work out right now. So this is essentially where I'm at. So as you can see, there's the wiring. It's got it exposed. It goes all the way through the back. I've got it coming out. That's where I have my PCM going in. So now walking over to the actual instrument cluster itself, this is the wiring that I have done. I do not have the wiring connected right now to the lights, so that's why you see a couple of these wires that are not connected to anything. So essentially, I have signal wires, I have my bulk of power wires here. It's connected to the main wire, which is going power to the tachometer. And then over here, which one was it? Actually, where's my connector now? Anyways, you'll get it. So I do have my voltage gauge. I do have the signal wire going from the alternator to the voltage gauge itself, and it's this one right over here. No, it's not. All right, let's just go in and figure it out. All right. So my voltage gauge is in fact this gauge right over here. So what did I do with my connector? So this right here is the connector that actually goes to the gauge. So as you can see, I do have my signal wire hooked up. This is my connector. I do not have any power going to the gauge. So the red wire over here, this is going to go over to a power source. My black wire is going to go to a ground source, and then from there, it should be complete. I'll go ahead and I'll tape the harness all the way back up. And you don't have to do this yourself. I did it because this is a project vehicle and I have a lot of time. There's no need for me to get it done right away. So, you know, there's no time crunch for me. You might have a different, how should I say, you might be under different circumstances and you want to get the car done. You have to go to the drag strip, or you have a track day or something, but that's not the case for me. So whatever the case may be, you may or may not want to do that. Another option is you could just get a new wire, run it down alongside the loom, and then just tape it up to the loom. That's an option as well. Depends on the look you're going for. Depends if that's going to work for you and the time crunch that you're on. So we're going to continue here. I'm going to show you, I'm going to wire that up, and then I'm going to show you putting it all back together, and then hopefully we'll be done with the whole charging thing, and that's another item completed for my truck. Let's continue on with the work. All right, everybody, I seriously apologize for this. This took forever. It took me 3 weekends to totally get it done. Not because it was that hard to do. It was just because I just had so much to do on my weekends. Weekends is the only time I really get to do anything. So, anyways, where we left off, I ended up putting in the, it was the 470 ohm resistor. I put it in line over here. So, as I talked about earlier, what I ended up doing was I put in a new pigtail. This is the resistor right there. I ended up putting some heat shrink on it. Here's the wire. I'm going to put some crinkle wrap on it to, you know, just to keep it covered up. But anyways, so now I'm going to turn on the truck. We're going to check the voltage, and we're going to verify that we fixed the alternator. This might get loud. All right, let's go to the front of the truck, and let's check our voltage. So here's my voltmeter. Let's see how I can do this. Here, 14.4 volts. There you go. I now have a charging alternator. So now, sky's the limit. I can drive it. Well, I mean, I can kind of drive it. I still need my windshield on, but anyways, yeah, like I said, it doesn't take that long to do. It only takes, oh, gotta turn off the truck. Doesn't take that long to do. It just took me 3 weekends because I only had limited time. There you go. That's the finished product right there. So hopefully it was detailed enough for you. If it wasn't detailed enough, go ahead and let me know. I can kind of run you through it, you know, if that helps you out. Yeah, I mean, I encourage you all to just kind of go out there and just give it a shot. If not, there's plenty of shops that can do it for you, but might as well give it a shot while you can. Other than that, it's been another great video. I still have a couple items that I still need to finish on this truck, and again, I will bring you guys along as I continue working on the truck, and then until we get it to where I drive it on the street, and then we get in full race mode. So thanks again for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until the next video comes out, you know, go out there and have fun and enjoy what you do. Peace.